All right, everybody, it's time for another episode of Off the Top Sportscast. I am John, and that is Roy. We are here with you guys today with another wonderful topic. Just a reminder, we're not going to be too topical, but we do let sports drive our conversation. So today's conversation is going to be about legends. All right, my is going to be my topic this time. Um, so there's a lot of legends that are still around us. You know, right now today, Colorado's having a little issue with Deion's having a little issue with Oregon. Uh, he's a legend of the game, and everybody is clamoring for all his attention. What do you think about how hard it is for this generation of athlete, this new generation, to become a legend?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. Now, this is the thing, though, with the past and present.
Mm-hmm.
Past, you were a legend on your pure talent.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a legend on your ability to market yourself.
Yes. Today.
Instagram, yeah, today,
Yes.
Instagram, YouTube.
That's a good point.
You could be a sensation and not play, and that's why we're so messed up with the NIL rules today. And they're giving all these kids all this money, and they haven't played day one of stinking college.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem. Is why? Yes, they played good high school ball, but what do they got? They got already YouTube channels, Instagram channels, right?
Right.
So again, back
Look
there,
at Arch Manning. Arch Manning hasn't played yet for his team.
yeah, and the guys, yeah.
Making $2 million.
Well, even you talked about Deion Sanders' son. I think he's
Oh,
up to 3
Shador,
million.
yeah.
Shador, I think he's like 3 million. And
Yeah.
again, I go, I'm not saying that
But at
Shador,
least he's playing.
yeah, and I haven't seen that he has good, he looks good.
Yeah.
But give me the question one more time, because now I'm getting off on the NIL and could kids play. Maybe that's another conversation in itself.
No, the question is it going to be harder for the players of today to become legends?
Okay. So and I talked about why they can become better known, but what I do think
Mm-hmm.
it is a little harder, and this is the reason why for them to, even though they have the leg up with Instagram, social media, is the scrutiny, I think, of the player because of that. I think their demand, they're expected to be great off the bat. Think about the quarterbacks that we have. They gotta be great. You get picked number one, you gotta be great off. You can't stink. You don't have time to kind of play it.
Yeah.
No, they're expecting you to play. We're expecting these guys, Richardson, Love, Stroud, these guys gotta play. You know what I mean? Right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say it is harder for them.
Yeah.
Because more people are into the player, less into the team. As it was back then, they were more into the player, I mean the team, less on the individual player.
Right. Everything you said was right. And an aspect that we're not talking about is the word legend. A lot of, I don't know what the actual word is, definition, but the connotation a lot of times is an unknown. There's an unknown.
That's true
About these guys. So, Babe Ruth's a legend. He calls his shot, and you know, the story becomes even almost bigger than the person sometimes. You know what I mean? So the fact that everything nowadays is so recorded and is so in history, and forget it used to be in black and white. It got harder to be a legend when it was in black and white, which is in the paper, when people were writing it, reporting it. But then people were going, oh, well, those reporters reported it. Look, this reporter reported it this way, and this reporter reported it this way. We don't know what happened. That was hard enough. It was hard enough when Some games were televised and recorded, and some were not. And the ones that you didn't see, well, you didn't see this happen and this happened fantastic over here, blah blah blah. But now that everything is recorded, every game is cataloged. There will be a time that you will be able to pay a fee and you will be able to go onto NBA.com and type in today's date, pull up all the games from 1986 that played on this date and play them. It's going to happen, right? So it's real hard to become a legend these days because of that, because everything is so actually, it is what you did. It's tangible and I can see what you did. The other thing about being a legend is we didn't know these guys. We did not know these guys.
Right.
And even and how far back do you think we can go? What's the date, the Mason Dixon line of, ooh, we started getting way too familiar with these guys? What's the generation? Is LeBron?
That's even though you might go back to Jordan, a
You,
little bit, but LeBron, I would say LeBron, that would be good to think about. But Jordan, everybody wanted to be like Mike.
how about this? I'm
He was
gonna say the Mason Dixon line is Amari Stoudemire. This is why. I know, I know.
I was not thinking that. Where the heck you
This
get
is
him?
why. This is why. Amari is the first guy that I can remember real wholeheartedly the whole NBA universe or sports universe, talking about a kid in high school.
Hmm.
And he was before LeBron. I think he must have been 99, 2000. Amari came out because I got to see him play here in Orlando. Um, and um, and when we started following kids from high school, which is the Jordan effect, right? We needed to be able to grasp these kids as young as thinking possible
That's
and
right.
get them into long contracts as young as possible when they didn't know anything. Because if we could do that, we could make money off these kids. That was the that's why we started going after these kids.
100%.
Now we're going after them when they're in middle school.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about Bronny James since, the poor kid, he didn't even have chest hair at the time. So I think that we know too much about everybody. We know so much about these guys. Yeah, we knew that Jordan liked to gamble, but we weren't seeing CC video of him on TMZ of him walking out of Vegas stumbling or whatever, what I mean, whatever story was going on. I think that makes it so much more difficult to be a legend in today's game.
Yeah, I agree, that it is more difficult to be because again, when we think of legends, we're thinking, at least for me, I'm thinking uh, going back to Magic, you go back to Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
you talk about some of those players like that. Now today, yeah, you go LeBron, right? Statistically,
Mm-hmm.
Championships,
Mm-hmm.
the various teams, you have no doubt he's a legend,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But then when I look at sports and other players, they've limit. I don't think of let me see, Ray Allen. You know what I mean? I don't think of KG. I don't think of them. I think I'm a great players, but I don't think of them as legends. Where I have more legends in the past for some crazy reason, I could probably name off a lot more than I
It's
can name
because
off.
it's because you're old.
Well, yeah, that's true. I saw them then,
Old.
but I still think about them now. You know what I mean? I still think of, again, I don't
Yeah.
think of these guys as legends.
Yeah.
You know, Dirk, would you say he's a
Yeah.
legend?
Yes.
Who
I
would
think
who would let's say that. Let's use that. Let's talk about some legend. Who you
yeah.
talk about hard, but let's put some categories now. Who do you let's go baseball, football, basketball.
I was actually one of my questions was going to be on the subject of legends. What sport is it the hardest to become a legend? I'm gonna say it's baseball.
Again, we're only throwing the three because I would say hockey.
Okay. Well, I don't know too much about hockey.
Me neither.
Yeah.
But that's I don't. But I think a legend who think why I mean a legend is if you're a legend to me, who's the only hockey player that you say has crossed barriers,
Yeah, it's Gretzky.
right? That's a legend. Now maybe but again, that's not even your time. You wouldn't even know. So, but again,
Mario Lemieux, you
no,
know.
Lemieux, right? But that's a legend. But when you go
Right.
baseball, you could think even soccer. You go soccer, I think is harder because again, when you say now we're not
You know
soccer,
what? I know more legends in soccer, even though I don't watch soccer,
yeah, I know a little bit more than hockey.
and than hockey, right?
Right. So, that's what I'm thinking is who comes to your head, even if it's a sport you don't watch, that's a legend. They've crossed the barrier.
But what I'm asking you is today. So I think it's easier probably to become a legend in soccer today than it
Yes.
was back then.
Yes.
I think it's probably easier to become a legend in hockey today than it was back then.
I still think it's a struggling sport, but
Well,
yeah,
we
you're
yes,
loyal.
but we there's guys out there that are well known and becoming bigger known, and they didn't have to do all the things that Gretzky did to earn his.
True. That's true. That's true. That's
You
true.
know what I mean?
Who's a legend? Take one person that you categorize legend in one sport. Pick one sport, and you just give me a name, and I get a name.
Well, you pick the sport, and I'll pick it.
MLB.
Oh, okay. And you're talking about that still playing.
You give me. You could pick one still playing, not playing.
All right. So if I'm thinking of a person who has risen to that legend status,
Who's playing or not?
I'm gonna say he's not playing, but he has risen to that legend status. Is Derek Jeter in recent years? He has risen to he's become a legend of the game.
I agree. I would agree with that.
Conversely, A-Rod, statistically,
He's better.
better player, didn't win as many, championships and all that, but just, if you're lining him up, not a legend.
I agree. He would not be considered a legend.
Right. What do we know about Derek Jeter's personal life?
Very little. Very little.
What do we know about A-Rod's personal life?
Everything.
Look how different it is.
Yeah. I think that's what messed him up.
Yeah. This is a guy over here, Derek Jeter, that you go up to and, oh, Mr. Jeter. Right?
He dated Mariah Carey.
Or you go, oh, Captain, A-Rod, you meet A-Rod, what do you say? Look at how I'm talking about him.
Yeah.
Every time I say Derek Jeter, I'm saying his whole stinking name for some reason.
Yeah.
And I'm saying A-Rod.
Okay, good. So you're saying Jeter as a legend.
I think.
And it's a good one. You say A-Rod, who's a great player, but you don't consider him that legend.
And the same era,
Same era. So am I going to go with the same era? Okay.
I just did it my way because it's how it came out of my brain. You can do it however you want. Now I'm going to give you who's a person who has become a legend recently. Okay. I'll put that caveat because I did that with Jeter.
Hold on. Let me answer the way you answered.
Okay.
Because I'm saying first, a legend to me.
And then somebody who's the juxtaposition of that.
Legend, I think I'm going with Cal Ripken.
Oh, you're going baseball? Okay. Oh,
baseball, still baseball.
Absolutely.
For me, legend.
Yes.
I don't think there is a question about the status.
I think that Cal Ripken is not talked about enough.
No, as a legend. Now, someone who is legendary, who I don't think maybe I do think, and it was funny who I'm going to pick, who I love, who I had.
Man, I think I know who you're going to say.
Who cards I have.
I think I know who you're going to say.
Who is a direct replica, I think, in the sense of A-Rod's, situation, who's been kind of polluted by his past. Maybe you don't think, but he's older.
Yeah.
I'm going older. But I think of him as a legend. I think Pete Rose. but I don't think people consider him a legend.
I thought you were going to say Ricky Henderson.
You know what? He's on the cusp. He's on the
Yeah,
cusp.
but
Legendary.
when people talk baseball, they don't talk about
You
Ricky.
don't talk Ricky Henderson. That's great. That's a good one. That's a good
When nowadays when they're talking about Robert Acuna, oh Junior, oh he's doing fantastic,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then the stat comes out, it says he has to score, he has to steal 60 more bases for 15 more years to be able to catch, But I agree, Pete Rose is a good one.
Yeah, and I think it's because of his gambling situation. But man,
Yeah.
that guy is a good player, good hustler. Again, that's
He's
later
one of the greatest
years.
players I've. He's one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah,
His hitting is unquestionable. I mean, you know what I thought about the other day? I know we're getting off on a tangent, but that's what this is about. I said to myself, if I'm the commissioner of baseball, what the heck do you do with this guy? Right? I don't want to celebrate him, but I cannot deny his entry into the Hall of Fame. That's ridiculous. It makes this Hall of Fame look ridiculous.
I agree.
What I do is I just put him in. You don't get the ceremony. You don't get to walk out there and make a stinking speech, but you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm going to tell your whole story. Because there's plaques, there's video montages of these guys and everything. And you just tell the story. Because you can't tell the story of baseball without, and that's one of those like criteria that a lot of people say. Can you tell the story of the sport without this guy? You can't tell the story of this between the 70s and the 80s without the big red machine. That doesn't even make sense. So
yeah, I agree with you. And I think holding it back, I think is it's really a black eye on baseball because they should let him in.
It just hurts your sport.
Yeah. Even when you talk about the steroid use era and some of these guys, again, I'm not a McGwire, Sosa.
I thought you were going to say, I'm not a steroid user. I was going to say, I can't believe that.
But you know what I mean? Those guys like, but Bonds, man, that guy he's yes, did he get greater? But again, you still got to, in baseball with steroids, you still got to put bat to ball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what you say.
It's this eye. Steroids doesn't help your eye.
No, that's right. Your swing mechanics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yes, I'm going to get a bigger bat.
But I would push back on McGwire. I'd put McGwire in. Sosa, no.
I wouldn't even put McGwire. I tell you, not me for McGwire. Mm-hmm. I don't even think. See, maybe that's another one. Good one right there.
All right, we'll table that. Legend, who has become a legend since I answered first last time, in basketball.
Who's a legend?
Yep, the same way we did baseball. Who has entered into that legend status, and then who would you say is kind of comparable that we just didn't put in there?
It's legend status. I still think there's a couple. I think there's two, but I'm going to go with Kobe is legend. He died, and I don't think just because he died, I would have said that name probably anyway.
Yes.
I would have said Kobe.
You're saying he's probably the last basketball player to enter into that legend status.
Yeah, Kobe is.
Yes.
When you just think of what he, how he trained, what people talk about him. You talk about what people say about him, how he was as a teammate, how he was as a player. I think you cover that. He covers the bases. There's nothing really he had an instant on that there was an indiscretion situation. Oopsie. But you still even with that, think about it. Even with that, this is how she proves how legendary he was. Did you hate the guy? You just hate that man. What he was like, man, that was dumb. You know what I mean? Compare this one to what you had. But again, legendary.
Yeah. So who's the juxtaposition?
Who's okay? So this one is who's not legendary.
But you think,
he's considered like legendary.
I have a good one. I have a good one in my radar now.
Hold on. Who's not who's not legendary.
who had a good career. He was a good player, and just retired or whatever, and just never, he just has not reached that point. And maybe it's because of what we know about her,
About him?
right? Because that's what we said with Pete Rose. We know too much about him.
Yeah.
A-Rod, we know too much about him.
Okay,
That's the premise
I'm gonna give you
down.
one. I'm gonna give you one because I do think this guy is he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
He's a Hall of Famer. Rodman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that what you were thinking?
I actually was not. Yeah, but he was the second person I thought of. But I agree with you. Yeah, we know a lot about Rodman.
And again, you cannot say if there's a team you're making and you're gonna say I'm picking him. Man, that guy was. There's nobody who has come out even close for the longevity for what he did for the teams that he played on.
Yes.
Crazy, psycho, all that. Yes.
Yes. Right. Erratic. Yes. Hard to control. Yes. So the guy I was going to say that we just got too close to the situation, and I think if it wasn't for that, we would look at him different, is Dwight Howard. When you look at Dwight, I know, yeah, you're doing it right now. You're doing it right now. Dwight had a run where he was winning Defensive Player of the Year. He was blocking. He was rebounding. He was the anchor of his team. He was scoring in the post. He was doing everything he wanted a big man to do. And then his little personality quirk started coming out, and then he was soft, and then I'm not saying he was soft. I'm saying that was a narrative, right? And then he went and played with Kobe, and everybody was like, "This is the time," and it didn't happen. When that didn't happen, when he went and played with Kobe, and that didn't happen, that's when people were like, "This guy's not it." Because when he went to Houston, he went to play in Houston, everybody was like, okay, this is a nice little team they got going on. Didn't work out, couple of injuries. Okay. When he went and played in LA with Kobe, and that didn't work, that's when the legendary status, he could have made or break. Listen,
that's a good point though. I like that because you're right. That broke him and broke him as a player in the sense of how you viewed him.
And you know who it made? Paul Gasol.
That became the teammate that even to this day, you would Kobe, if he was alive, he loves Paul Gasol.
What I'm saying is, we didn't think about Paul Gasol. He was a good player, but we didn't think of him like that.
No.
Until he played with Kobe, and all of a sudden everybody was like, Paul Gasol could help any team. Paul Gasol's the guy. What were we talking about? Like we didn't talk about like that before. You know what I mean? Truthfully, his brother was probably more talented than he was, but he just developed into this guy. Anyway, so I think Dwight has hurt himself every step of the way. We know too much about his baby mamas. His baby mama went on Real Basketball Wives of whatever, Atlanta, and aired him out. We know too much about his mental state. We know too much about how childish he is. He went on a show recently that I watched. It's a show that they take all these people and they, famous people or semi-famous people, and they put them in this military boot camp type of deal. And I was watching it, and I'm an Orlando kid, man. I'm rooting for Dwight. And all he showed was everything that everybody has ever said about him. Man, he showed it. He showed it in that show. He showed his ass. It was like,
now I want to see the show.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, Dwight. It was just, you just go, every time you just go, you kill yourself and his mental vision of who he is hurts him every time.
I think that's why he's not playing now.
Exactly. And he's still talented. He went and scored 70 in it's Taiwan, but 70, you know. Before we wrap this up, football. I think it's on me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Who's a legend?
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of the recent legend, and I'm not going to say Brady because Brady may be the greatest of all time, but he hasn't reached legend status. Now that's a discussion for later.
That's interesting that you were saying. The thing about legendary, about, you know what, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, that's a hard discussion, because I would say he is legendary. Why? Is because when you talk football, if you were to talk football, there's very few people that wouldn't put Brady, if you were to tell them to name 5 people, 3 people, that his name wouldn't come up.
It depends how you frame the question, because if you said greatest of all time, this and that and the other, but I don't think, and we can do a poll. We'll do a poll later.
He's a legend.
If you added the word legend to his name, would you add that name? That's a moniker that's a prestigious moniker.
Maybe because
especially in football.
He's just stopped playing. But man, the guy's got more rings.
I'm not disagreeing with it. Listen, I can't make any argument against him. So there's not an argument against him.
That's another question. This is another, we're getting into another deep hole here with that.
Hey,
that's an argument.
Let the people on Facebook decide. Yeah. Let the people on the YouTube chat decide.
Let's go to football.
All right, football. So a guy who I believe has become a legend. Man, football's tough.
Football is tough.
Because I feel like the yard markers on football keep on moving.
Yeah.
This was what you had to be a legend back in the day. And then they go, no. This is now over here where you have to be a legend. If you're a quarterback, that thing has moved all over the map. So I would say a guy who's become legendary is Peyton Manning.
I cannot disagree.
That guy is now legendary.
Yeah, I think he was great quarterback, all that good stuff, but he's legendary.
And think about this. Think about how much we see of Peyton. But how much do you know about Peyton?
Well, nothing personal. You know his family, his brothers, his father, but you don't know nothing personal.
You know who they are.
Right.
They're part of the machine.
Right.
When you see their faces around there, those guys are getting paid. They're like, hey, Peyton, put me in whatever you want. But what I'm saying is I don't know what Peyton's wife looks like.
That is true. At least I don't remember seeing anything.
I have no idea. I don't, so that's just, okay. So now the juxtaposition on that.
I agree with you though.
So that's a bad example. I was going to give an example, but this guy has gotten into a different type of trouble. So I think it takes his name out. I was going to say Brett Favre. I don't think he's in legendary status, but he's kind of screwed up his, yeah. So.
Broke that far in there.
It kind of, I can make this point, but it mutes my point because I don't know anything about this guy either. I was gonna say Drew Brees has not become a legend.
Oh no, not because
But that's not the same.
How
about this? How about this argument? Peyton Manning has become a legend.
Yes.
Eli Manning has not. And we don't know anything about Eli either.
You just like Peyton Manning more.
Exactly. But he just hasn't become it. But they've won the same Super Bowl titles.
Yeah. Okay, legend.
Eli has won them against 2 Patriots teams, 1 Patriot team that might be considered, if you want to put it on paper, one of the greatest of all time.
Yep.
And we don't consider him that way.
Yeah, yeah. You see, that would have been good pick. He'd have been good pick, not a legend. And he won Super Bowls.
2
See, my legend, again,
in New York.
who I think, again, I'm going with Deion Sanders.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You talk about dominant.
Yes.
Again, you talk about baseball, he played.
Yes.
He played.
Was good in baseball too, not just
Col-
played.
But in college, people knew him in college.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and then he came to NFL. He played. You talk about what did he do with Atlanta? What did he do with the Niners? What did he do with the Cowboys? Right? Washington. He played for various things. And every place he went, then the guy said, you know what? I'm tired of playing a corner. I want to play a wide receiver. I'm surprised he didn't go, I just want to play quarterback.
Yeah, back in the day, you couldn't. You could probably play him now.
Yeah. The guy was a sportscaster, was coaching high school back then. He was coaching, you could say little league football, and now has gotten the opportunity for Colorado. You may not like how he's doing it, whatever. That's beside the point. Everybody's watching. I'm watching.
That's right.
I say he is a legend.
No doubt, 100% yes. Who's the juxtaposition of Deion? Who's the opposite?
I say somebody who is the opposite, who gets talked about a lot. And
who's a good player?
Yeah, who's good, who gets talked about a lot. And I kind of think Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think he's a legend, but they talk about him as a great quarterback. He took over for Brett Favre. Yes. He was the heir apparent. The guy has really not shown anything, but they keep on talking about as a number one quarterback, top-notch quarterback.
You walked it right into Karl Malone status. I agree. That's good. I do not like Aaron Rodgers. It's not that I don't like Aaron Rodgers, and I can't identify that he's a good player.
No.
What I don't like is when people go, This guy's he's the best damn quarterback I ever see. And I go,
he went to the Jets as the savior.
Yes.
And I'm not saying the guy, we don't know, right? He's hurt. Got it. But I don't think he was going to be the savior. I don't think they were even going to make it to the Super Bowl. And I think they would have got knocked out of the first round of the playoffs, maybe.
If they made it into the playoffs.
At all.
Right. Here's the problem with that team wasn't ready for him.
Too late.
Everybody thinks that because if you have a good team, insert Hall of Fame quarterback. And I am admitting he is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
We'll get there.
First ballot, stamped. He's in there already. There's nothing he can do now to mess that up. And there's nothing he can do now to help it either, by the way.
That's it.
But he was never even the best of his era.
That's right.
In a future podcast or a past podcast, depending on how we put this one out, I want to talk about eras. What is an era? Because we hear that term all the time. And it's I just go, what the heck is an era? What?
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that because era, the people define the era. Does the sport change and maybe rules define? Is it just decades? Is it just time? But listen, we've beat this one up. I think we come to some good conclusions, some good conversation.
Yes.
We got to leave it up now. Off the top, it's just got to leave it up to the fans, the people. Right. What is off the top? When you heard our discussion,
it's their turn to beat us up. Right.
That's it. It's their turn. Yeah. Maybe they think we're full of it.
That's right.
We are every day, every conversation.
That's right. Hey, change our minds. Go in the comment section. We'll talk about it with you. We'll debate it with you, and we will let you know if you got us. If we say, you know what, that's right. This person made the point that we're making, and that's what this is about. Because we don't want to listen. I have this opinion, and I just have this opinion because I thought of it right now. I didn't do any.
There was no statistics.
Yeah, and I'm not even giving it a forethought. There might be people that we forget or we forgot about a situation that the person had or whatever. But that's not the point of it. This is how, but my sports brain, right, who is connected to my sports heart, beat it and it sent up a signal and it said, Rogers is a phony. Anyway, this is it for today's Off the Top. This is John. That's Roy. And please just subscribe and please let us know what you think. If you're angry what we said, we want to hear it even more because it will make us change our minds. And at the end of the month, we're going to do a recap video and we're going to talk about all the comments and all the vitriol we get to see if we agree or if we have a, you know, a little countermeasure to that comment.
And listen, we would love to hear from the people. Subscribe. Maybe you have a question that you'd like us to discuss.
That's
it may
right.
blow our mind. But if you're watching on Facebook, hey, please subscribe. Please follow us. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe, ask the questions, put the comments. We talk about anything, whatever comes off the top. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one.